Welcome, everybody, to our monthly Chocolatey Product Spotlight live stream for March 2024. Normally, we would live stream on the 7th of March, so we normally live stream on the first Thursday of each month, but we're mixing things up a little bit this month. We've got three live streams this month. We have this one, which is our product live stream. We've got a special coding live stream on the 7th of March, and our usual monthly unpacking software live stream on the 14th of March. So in our coding live stream on the 7th of March, Josh King and Stephen Valdinger will be going back to basics and taking you through how to create a package in an easy step-by-step way. If you've ever found packaging difficult, if you want a refresher, or if you just want to see what it's all about, join us on Thursday, the 7th of March at 5 p.m. UTC. Ordinarily, we would run two live streams every month. That's why I said three was extraordinary. And we do that on the first and third Thursday. This live stream is where we spotlight chocolatey products, recent releases, upcoming releases, and important features. Our other live stream on the third Thursday of each month is a new live stream called Unpacking Software, which includes news, chat, and opinion on the world of software management. You can be notified of all of our chocolatey content by joining our community hub on Discord, subscribing to us on YouTube, or following us on Twitter or X, Mastodon, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, and Twitch. We run all the things. You can find those links at the bottom of our homepage, chocolatey.org, and in the description. We want to make sure that the content we're streaming here today is what you want to see. Otherwise, there's no point in us being here. But so we've put together a very quick 15-second survey form, which we would appreciate you completing at the end of the stream today. And I'll just pop a link into the screen as I speak. There we go. Awesome. So my name is Paul Broadwith. I'm the Technical Engineering Manager here at Chocolatey Software. I lead the engineering team that is responsible for the products that we'll be talking about today. My co-host, as usual, is Gary Ewan Park. Gary, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I can do that. As Paul said, my name is Gary Ewan Park. I am a principal software engineer here at Chocolatey Software, and I work on all the chocolate products. I'm involved in pretty much every aspect of chocolate development. So if there's a problem, it's probably my fault. So sorry.
And if it's not, we'll blame you anyway.
Sure.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Gary. So today, as I kind of said earlier on, we're actually going to go back to basics. We're going to look at what is the Chocolatey Community Repository. So from that's usually the first place people get introduced to chocolatey products. Chocolatey CLI being our core product, that people can that tend to be people that get involved in the community see, and then we go on to being customers as well. So we want to just look at a little bit of history for that. Gary, you've been around in chocolatey world for quite a while. You've been around a little bit longer than I have. I think the first time I was involved was 2016, I think. So it's 8 years ago now. I think you're a little bit earlier than that. But can you tell us a little bit of the history of the Chocolatey Community Repository? You know, why it was born, what it does, just at a very high level, because we're going to dig into all of that later on.
So, Chocolatey Community Repository didn't. When Chocolatey CLI was first created, there wasn't the concept of a central repository where you could get all of the packages that you wanted to install from. So Chocolatey CLI as a product existed simply as there's a executable, and technically it wasn't an executable at the time, but that's neither here nor there. Chocolatey CLI was a thing that allowed you to install packages, and at the time you could just install it from a local UNC share or just a drive, a hard drive that you have access to on your machine. So the Chocolatey Community Repository was born as a mechanism to have a central location that you could install packages from. And with that came the ability to push packages. So you've created a package, you want somewhere to push it that other people can then make use of. And that is really what the Chocolatey Community Repository was all about. Yeah, so it didn't exist at the exact same time as Chocolatey first was created, but it was very closely followed after Chocolatey was created, because we identified, or at the time, Rob identified it as a necessity to make Chocolatey usable by more people.
So the first release of Chocolatey CLI was back in March 2011, and the community repository was born in September of that year. So yeah, 6 months on, and that kind of that need was identified and fulfilled, I suppose. But moderation itself, and that's a big part of the Chocolate Community Repository, and quite a lot of what we'll be talking about today, didn't actually start until 2014, I think, from memory. So again, a few years afterwards, it was that whole evolution. Got the repository. Oh, okay, we need some sort of mechanism to check the packages that are being uploaded and make sure they're high quality, meet certain standards, etc., etc. And it kind of evolved from there a little bit. So something I didn't mention actually is there's going to be a blog post, kind of what we're talking about today, and we're really following that format so that the video and the blog post kind of match. So I'm actually going to pop that link onto the screen as well, and you'll be able to have a look at that blog post and kind of follow along with us as well if you're watching the video. So we've had a little bit of history. We don't want to dig into it too much, but really, I suppose you touched on it a little bit, Gary. What is the community repository?
So, talking like a basic, it's a website. It's a website that allows people to see what packages are available. It allows people who are maintainers of packages to push new versions to them, or to it rather. So belt and braces. It is a website that you can create a user account on, become a maintainer of a package. But more importantly, for the majority of people, it is a website that allows you to consume packages and install it onto your machine.
It's really kind of, yeah, in layman's terms. It's, if you want to get a little bit more technical, so we don't want to do a deep dive here. This is back to basics. But if we want to do a little bit more technical, it's a NuGet v2 endpoint that the Chocolatey products query. And get responses from that. And from there, you can manage those packages. But the Chocolatey Community Repository is the sort of front end to that, where you can see the packages, get information, you can click buttons, just normal things you'd expect from a website. So I've got a list actually. I'm looking at the blog post just now. So the things that you can do on the website, as opposed to the kind of endpoint, you can see all versions of the package. So some packages have many versions going back for years and years. So you can see all of those versions. You can see actually the files contained in the package as well. So if the package has been uploaded after 2014, you will be able to see the files inside that package as well. You'll be able to browse, for example, again, not digging too deep, but Chocolatey packages contain PowerShell scripts. So you can have a look at the scripts and have a look at the code in there as well. You can see the virus scan results because every package is virus scanned. Again, we'll touch on that later. And there's other things that you can do as well. So it gives you a lot of information and a lot of interactivity that you can do with on the package page itself. So that's basically what the Chocolate Community Repository is in a nutshell. If you ever really wondered, it is effectively a website that allows Chocolate products to manage packages on your computer. You can dig into it and get more complicated, but on the surface, that's as complicated as we need to go really for this. But we've talked about packages. We've talked about the Chocolate Community Repository stores packages, Chocolate products manage packages. But what is a package?
So a package is the clues in the name a little bit. It is a container for stuff. Now, what that stuff is changes on what package we're referring to here, because a Chocolatey package might just contain the scripts that Paul mentioned there in terms of what the instructions that the Chocolatey package wants to perform on your machine. But because it's a container of information, that information can also be the exe or the MSI, the actual installer of the underlying application. You can put that in that package as well. So when we talk about a package, it's essentially a fancy zip file that has a little bit of extra metadata associated with it. So Chocolatey can query that package and take actions based on the results that it gets back from it. But at the end of the day, it is just a zip file that happens to have the NUPKG extension. Pronounce that how you will. but it has the NUPKG package extension, and that's it. So the Chocolatey CLI, if and when you become a maintainer, Chocolatey CLI is responsible for creating that container file for you. You don't need to worry about knowing the format of the contents, because Chocolatey CLI will do all that work for you. But essentially, that is what a Chocolatey package is. The important thing about the Chocolatey package is that it's a standard format for whatever that thing contains. So whether that's installing Firefox, or whether that's installing a set of registry keys onto your machine, or whether that is deploying some configuration onto your machine, the makeup and the standard of that package is consistent across all of those different installation types.
Depending on the type of package as well, Gary, as you mentioned, the packages are portable as well. So you can take the package that you have and take it to a computer that doesn't have internet access, and be able to install that onto that computer and install it onto other computers in a consistent and repeatable way. That's what's important as well, that, when you're installing a Chocolatey package, you have an expectation of what it's going to do. So you mentioned Firefox. So if it's going to install Firefox, for example, but if you're going to take that portable package away and put it on computers without internet access, again, you've got it. It's that consistent. You're still expecting it to install Firefox, for example. So not all packages require external assets. So Firefox, for example, downloading it from the Mozilla website and installing it that way, you can put that installer inside the package and take it away and take it to all these other computers. So that's the kind of beauty of that packaging or container format, as you mentioned. And it's as you said, it's just really a fancy zip file with lots of file, well, not lots, with several different types of files inside to do things. So there's PowerShell scripts in there that are instructions basically on how to install the software, for example, or maybe put a registry key into the registry, or put a license file somewhere on the computer system, and then maybe run a little tool that imports the license into the software that you're doing. It's just instructions on what to do. And those instructions can be just a few instructions, i.e. just run the installer, or it can be, as I said, put the file here, run this, do that, etc. So on a high level, it's just instructions and contents of the file that you want to put somewhere, and instructions on how to put them somewhere. Really quite straightforward. So that's really at a high level of what a package is. Now, we don't want to dig into it too much because this is a back to basics. There's all the information on what a package is, how you can create packages, etc. is on our website on documentation. I'm speaking, there we go. That's what I was looking for, on our documentation website. As we mentioned earlier on as well, we've got a live stream coming up on the 7th of March. If you're watching this after the 7th of March, you'll find it on our YouTube channel. But on the 7th of March, Josh King and Stephen Valdinger are going to go through how to create a package step by step, really easy package. And just to get people started. So if you've never been involved in packaging before, if you've always kind of wondered what is packaging, how, what is in there, if you want a refresher course because you've kind of started and just need a bit more information from the experts, then please join our stream then. That's the 7th of March at 5 p.m. UTC. And as I said, if you're watching this afterwards, you'll find it on our YouTube channel, but we stream to Twitch and YouTube as well, so join us then. So we'll find out what a package is at a very high level. And packages are our Chocolatey Community Repository hosts those packages for us. But what do you use the Chocolatey Community Repository for? You've got the packages, you've got the repository. What do you use it for? There's kind of two methods that we talked about before, and we talked about in the blog post, was install, upgrade, and download those packages, and create and share created packages as well. So Gary, do you want to kind of touch on those?
Sure. Do we want to share the screen at this point and go through some things, or are we still talking through them at this point?
Yeah, no. Let's share the screen. There we go.
So just to kind of set the scene of where we are, on this machine, I already have Chocolatey installed. So if I come over here and walk up and ask Chocolatey to say that it's there, Chocolatey is installed, and I've got the latest Chocolatey CLI, which is 2.2.2 installed.
How do you get that installed, Gary?
So
If I'm
that's
just
where, so right back at the start, so the website that I was showing before, this is the Chocolatey Community Repository. This is what we refer to as the CCR, or Chocolatey Community Repository. It's up at community.chocolatey.org. So coming here for the first time, what you'll see is some information about the site, how many packages we have, how many downloads we've had. But the important one to get started with is this install Chocolatey link. So if I click on this, it will take you over here, and in 2 or 3 simple steps, you've got Chocolatey CLI installed. So the nuts and bolts of that comes down to this PowerShell script here. Now, obviously, this is running a script from a website. So you want to do your own due diligence to make sure that that is doing what you expect it to do. But what we as Chocolatey can say is that that is a safe script that literally millions of people have installed on their machines to get the Chocolatey CLI installed. Now, I've already done that on my machine, so I'm not going to do that again. But it is literally copy that, put that into your administrative PowerShell session, and off you go. That's how you get it installed.
Is that the only way I can install Chocolatey CLI?
It's not. There are different alternative mechanisms that you can use. One of which is we do actually ship Chocolatey as an MSI as well. So if you want to get use a more standard route, which is to download and execute an MSI, then you absolutely can download that and install it that way as well. There are alternative installation mechanisms that you can use depending on your configuration, but that's kind of the normal way of doing things. It would either be executing that PowerShell script that's just there, or downloading and installing the MSI as part of that way of doing things.
And that MSI is really just, if you've ever installed software on Windows, you download the file, you double click it, you get taken through a wizard. That's what that's what we refer to as the MSI. So it's a particular type of installer framework. The MSI is that. So yeah, you would just download that, double click it, you go through some next, read some information, and it will install that onto your machine. But if you're using an up-to-date version of Windows 11 and I think Windows 10 as well, later versions of Windows 10, you may have Winget installed already. Microsoft installs that for you on your behalf, and you'll be able to run Winget install chocolatey, I think is the command, and it will actually install the Chocolatey CLI for you as well. So those are the kind of 3 most common. But as Gary said, there are other methods, but again, we don't want to dive into them. This is back to basics, where we're just really touching on these things and giving you a very predetermined way to install it. The way most people do it is through that PowerShell command there that's in front of you. I know it looks scary, but it's been used since day dot, I was going to say, but from the very, very beginning. That's what we've always done, and people are familiar with that as well. So yeah, sorry, Gary.
No, absolutely. So like I say, this is the Chocolatey Community Repository, and that's how we would get Chocolatey CLI installed. That's me off to the Chocolatey website at that point. Chocolatey Community Repository is so out of the box, Chocolatey CLI knows about the Chocolatey Community Repository. But what I would say is there is at least in our minds, there is a clear separation between what is Chocolatey CLI and what is the Chocolatey Community Repository. But out of the box, Chocolatey CLI knows about the Chocolatey Community Repository, and it will use that as its default repository for installing packages. So kind of what we wanted to talk about next is, well, let's use Chocolatey CLI to install something. So the first thing you need to do is you need to know that a package exists for what you're looking for. So the example that we're going to use, I think, Paul, is the Firefox application. So what the Chocolatey Community Repository gives you is a mechanism to come up and search for a given package. So in this case, I'm looking for the Firefox package. So I can come in here and search for it, and what I get is a list of results that have something to do with the word Firefox, the search term that I've used there. So the Mozilla Firefox package comes up as the first hit there, but obviously there are other packages that are associated with Firefox. But in this case, this is the one that I'm interested in. Now, you could also search for that at the command line. So using Chocolatey CLI, you could also do that search. But for the sake of this demonstration, I think we're just going to go ahead and install the Firefox package. So I could go back to the Chocolatey CLI and I could try typing that out. But this is a demo, and most likely I'm going to type that incorrectly. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to use this copy command here. Let's put that Choco install Firefox onto my clipboard. And at that point, I can just paste that in and I'm going to do Choco install Firefox. Now, before I do that, I'm just going to come over here and show that I've not got Firefox installed. So I'm looking for the Firefox application on this machine and I don't have it. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to the PowerShell prompt. I'm going to hit return. And at this point, it's going to go off and it's going to find that package on the Chocolatey Community Repository. And then it's going to attempt to run the scripts that are contained within it. But by default, Chocolatey CLI doesn't run scripts without you saying, go ahead and install that, or go ahead and run that script. There are ways that you can turn that on. So it's actually documented right here. So there is, if you wanted to always accept the execution of scripts as the packages are being installed, you can enable that through a feature toggle within Chocolatey CLI itself. But I've got it set up so that's not the case at the minute, because what I might want to do is I might want to see the script that's being executed. So if I was interested in what that script was going to do, I could do that at the command line here. But Paul actually mentioned this earlier. I can go back into the Mozilla Firefox package on the Chocolatey Community Repository, and I can actually preemptively look at those files because we store all of those on the website as well. So I can click on the show here, and again, I can see that script. I can see what it's going to do, and once I know I'm happy with it, I can then go ahead and install it. But you can do that at the command line as well as preemptively on the website. So for now, I'm just going to come back down to the bottom here, and I'm going to say, do you want to run this script? Yes, I do. So at that point, the package that is the Firefox package is being executed on my machine. It's gone off and it's downloaded that application installer from the Mozilla website. You can see that happening here. So that's the official download URL for the Firefox application. It's verifying that the hash of that file matches what the package maintainer expects it to be, because what might happen is that that exe or that MSI has changed since the package was created. But because we match the hashes of the expected value, there's a little bit of reassurance there that it's actually installing what you want it to install. So with that completed, I can see down on my taskbar here, I've now got the Firefox icon appearing down here. And if I click on that, then Firefox, which wasn't installed before, now is installed and available on my machine. That make sense?
You mentioned hashes there, Gary. So you mentioned the executable. Now, what is a hash?
So a hash is so there's different. There are different types of hashes, but essentially what we're referring to here is give me a mathematical representation of what that exe is. So a hash then says that exe is represented by this hash. So if I were to go off and download the exe from another location, I can run the hash on that file again. And if the hashes are the same, then I know that that file hasn't changed since the last time I looked at it. So it's a cryptographic mathematical thing that says this is the hash of a file. So it's depending on the package, you have a different hash. It might be a SHA-512 hash. It might be a different kind of hash. But essentially, it is a mathematical way, a cryptographic way of saying that this exe contains what I expect it to as a package maintainer. I hope that makes sense.
So if we go ahead there and we download what version is that? 123.00 of Firefox. So we downloaded that from the Mozilla website.
Yeah.
Is let's say 123.1.0, is that going to be the same hash?
No. So in all likelihood, the contents of that exe are going to be different because it's going to have new functionality. It's going to do new different things. So no, the hash of different versions of an executable or any file for that matter will have it's mathematically guaranteed to have a different value of the hash. So no, there will always be differences between the hashes.
So if I'm going to install a Firefox package and the maintainer of that package has said, I know what the hash of 123.00 version of Firefox is, and I'm going to put that hash into the package. And then when we download it, we know it's what the maintainer expected. It's not going to be downloading some malicious thing that we don't really know about because the maintainer has said, this is the hash. I know it's valid, and the one that we're downloading, we compare it with that, and if they match, we know it's the valid and official, in this case, Mozilla installer for Firefox.
Correct. So
Okay.
Chocolatey by default is security conscious by default. So the fact that we have, or the fact that our package maintainer has gone to the a length of saying this is the hash of the file that I expect to be downloaded, if we find that the hashes don't match, Chocolatey CLI will not allow that installation to happen, because at that point it knows that something's different compared to what the package maintainer has stated it to be. And rather than just blindly carrying on with that operation, Chocolatey CLI will halt at that point and say, I'm not installing that anymore.
I suppose that throws up as well something that we haven't discussed yet is what is actually a package maintainer? How are these packages created?
Yeah, absolutely. So if just using this Firefox package as an example, if I go up here and look, I can find out exactly who the package maintainer is. So in this case, this package is maintained by a community package maintainer called the Chocolatey Community Package Maintainer. Now, it's a difficult one to kind of start with, because the Chocolatey Community Maintainer is actually a group of people who all use the same GitHub repository for maintaining packages from. But if I were to go to another package, then I might find, for example, that I'm trying to think of who would be a good one. But if I go up here and look for one that I know,
I was going to
I can
suggest
go.
Adobe Reader or something.
Well, that
Yeah,
worked. I
yeah.
was.
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah.
So I've spelt his name wrong. I'm gonna not attempt to do that live, or is it profiles? It's gonna be profiles. So Maurice Kevinar is a prolific package maintainer on the Chocolate Community Repository. Literally has hundreds of packages under his name. So he has someone within the community who said there are applications that I want to see as chocolatey packages. So Maurice has spent his time and his effort to put those packages together and submit them to the Chocolate Community Repository. So Maurice has 222 published packages with over 49 million downloads of those packages. So these are all the packages that he maintains. Now, there are ways to automate that process. So it's not Maurice handcrafting each and every single one of those packages, but he is maintaining and responsible for the upkeep of those packages, most likely because he uses them himself and he wants to see them on the Chocolate Community Repository. So there are literally hundreds of package maintainers who do that work for the community. And the Chocolatey Community Package Maintainer is an amalgamation of a few people that all help out on the same repository.
I think there's something like 350 or 400 packages that the Chocolatey Community maintainer maintains. So that's a huge number of packages for one person. So as Gary says, there's multiple people in there who actually help out. And if you know the links there on the left hand side, you can see software specific links, but for the package specific ones, for example, if you click to package source, it would take you to that GitHub repository where all of those packages are actually maintained. And you'll see people like myself, like Kim, I think Gary, you've helped out in there as well. And there's other community maintainers that help in there as well, and we just make sure those packages continue to be updated. This might be a good place for you to start if you're getting into packaging and you're wondering, you know, what's in a package or getting examples or etc. This would probably be a good repository to actually start with, because there's so many packages, so many diverse packages as well. You'll probably find an example of something that you're looking for in here that you could take and kind of clone and use for something that you're working on as well. So that's us really going over what a package maintainer is. It's somebody that maintains and keeps that package up to date, makes sure that if anything has broken, for example, you go to install a package and it doesn't install properly for whatever reason, that they can then go in and maybe fix that if it's a bug, or maybe add something in there to make sure that it doesn't happen again in the future with something maybe that you've got specific on your machine. Or if there's a new version of the software coming out, they can update that package as well to make sure that the new software is packaged up and pushed up to the community repository. And again, as Gary said, that's not done manually for people that have lots and lots of packages, and there's automated systems in place for that. And again, if you go into the Chocolatey Community Maintainer repository, you'll be able to see that system in place. And again, it's not something I'm going to dig into. It's possibly something that Stephen and Josh will pick up on in the 7th of March when they talk about creating packages. Maybe just mention that you can automate things and point you to the place for that. But that may be a future live stream where we kind of dig into that a little bit.
Yep.
So we've talked all about the community repository and how you use it, kind of what it's used for, with regards to installing, upgrading, downloading packages. Well, but have we touched on creating and sharing packages, Gary? I know you've talked about creating packages, and we've talked about package maintenance and maintainers, but we haven't really talked about sharing created packages. How do you share those packages that you've created that might be of use to the wider Chocolatey community?
So let's take as an example the Firefox package. Because we're on it, let's talk about the Firefox package. So as Paul mentioned, on this package page, there are multiple different package versions available. So you can see with the Firefox package that every time there's an update, there's a new package revision has been published. So the question becomes, well, what are all of these? And we've kind of spoken around it already, but each of these package instances is just a fancy zip file. So from the website, you can get those by this download link over on the left-hand side here. So if I click the download there, I'm going to get a new downloaded version of that Firefox package. So you'll see here that I've actually got two now. I've got the latest version and the previous latest version. So if I, as a maintainer, had created these packages, I've got the option to keep them for myself. So I can just keep them on my machine, and I can use my machine as the installation source for those packages. But if I wanted to share those with other people, I need to push them, and that's the term that we use. We need to push them to a repository. So Chocolatey Community Repository is one instance of a Chocolatey package repository, but there are others. I'm not sure that we're going to get into those and how you would set those up or how you would gain access to them. But just know that Chocolatey CLI as a product doesn't need to communicate with the Chocolatey Community Repository. You can use another repository that you're maintaining yourself or that someone else is maintaining as well. But to share a package, we would need to take this nupkeg, this Chocolatey package, and you would need to share that somewhere. And typically that's via the push command. So if I were to attempt, let's say I am the maintainer of the Firefox package, and the Firefox package didn't have the 1.2.3.0.0 package version on the Chocolatey Community Repository, I could go ahead and create that package, and I could push it to that repository via a standard command. So that command would be just the choco push command. So for there, I would then need to find the and I can't do it, Paul. I can't do it. I would need to find the NUPKG file, and I would need to push it. So from there, I could go into get 13 downloads. And then from there, I would have the Firefox package. So let's say I wanted to push that one. Now I need to tell Chocolatey CLI where I wanted to push that to. So in this case, I would need to tell it the source that I wanted to push it to. So the Chocolatey Community Repository has a standard URL that's used for that. And that is push.chocolatey.org. And the other thing that I would need is I would need an API key. So we don't just allow anyone to push a package to the Chocolatey Community Repository. They have to be the designated package maintainer of that package. So in order to facilitate that, there is this concept of an API key. and you get that API key once you have an account on the Chocolate Community Repository. So you'll see up at the top here that I am actually logged in. So GEP13 is my account on the Chocolate Community Repository. And if I go ahead and click on the account tab here, I'll get an error. I wasn't necessarily expecting that. Let me just refresh that page. Oh, I've been signed out, and I don't know why that errored. That's something to take off. If I try that again, I should be able to see. There we go. So once I'm logged in, then I will be given an API key. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to show you my actual API key, because that would be bad. Because that would mean that you would be able to push packages that I am marked as a maintainer on. So what I'm showing you here is, though, once you have created an account on Chocolate Community Repository, you would be given an API key, and from there you could put that API key into here. At that point, if I attempted this push, it obviously won't work because I'm not the maintainer of that package, and that is actually an invalid API key. But this is the mechanism that you can use to share a package with another repository. So whether that's Chocolate Community Repository, whether that's your own internal repository, or whether that's something on Azure DevOps or GitLab repositories, you have the option then to share those packages how you want them to be shared.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So again, just to reiterate what Gary said there, if you can't. So the Firefox package is maintained by the Chocolate community user. So even if Gary put in his correct API key in there, it still wouldn't work because he, GEP13, is not a maintainer of that package. So the push would fail. So that's the kind of security mechanism that's built into the community repository. You need to be the maintainer of the package in order to push a package version. You cannot just push any package to any package ID, for example. So I couldn't push Firefox either because I'm not the Chocolate community user. So that's how we make sure that packages are only updated by the maintainer. But there are mechanisms for example, passing on maintainership of a package. For example, if I decided I didn't want to be updating a particular package, I could pass it on to Gary, or I could make it available for other people to pick up. They could, communicate with me. I could add them in as the maintainer, and then they could maintain that from there. So there's mechanisms in place for all of that. But again, we won't dig into that today. But the next kind of step is we've talked about that kind of security of not being able to push a package that's not yours, that you don't maintain. But there is a thing we call moderation, package moderation. If you've been around the community repository for any length of time and heard any of us talking, we talk a lot about community moderation or package moderation for the community repository. We really want to kind of dive into that a little bit. Again, at a high level, we're going to talk about what package moderation is, the kind of steps your package goes through once you push it. So if you're the maintainer of the package and you push a new version, what steps does your package go through in order to get from you pushing it to being available to everybody in the community repository? And we have a kind of slide there that we're going to actually work through. Gary, have you got that available?
I do, yes.
Awesome.
The one thing I was going to show before jumping into the slide, what I was going to show was when you access the Chocolate Community Repository, the default view is what we refer to as the normal view. But if you are a package maintainer or you are just interested in the progress of a package through the moderation that we describe, there is this alternative view called the moderator queue. And that will let you see where packages are currently in the queue and what state they're in. And that's what this slide here describes. So do you want to talk through this, Paul, or am I going to talk through it?
I think we've kind of both talked through it. We've both got a lot of experience in how this all works. As I kind of mentioned at the beginning, I'm responsible for the team that manages the products here, and part of that is all of the services we're going to look at today. So Gary and I have been involved in this for a long time now. Gary, could you maximize that on your screen? I know it's possibly we're going to cut it off with our heads at some point. Oh, okay. That's better actually. We're not cutting it off. So I mean, I'll kind of start and then we'll kind of pick up, I think, as we go through. We'll just go back and forward. The first two steps, actually, the push package and the Chocolatey Community Repository received package, we've kind of already covered. The only thing I was going to pick up on the step two there, which is the Community Repository received package, is that you'll be sent an email. So all of these stages, as you go through them, there's emails that are sent to you. Now, you might look at those emails and go, that's a lot of emails, but we like to communicate the process and what step your package is at each time that it goes through one of these steps. So once you've pushed your package, within a few minutes, you should get an email to say your package has been pushed and it's been received by the Chocolatey Community Repository, and it's going to work its way through the Chocolatey package moderation service. So once it's done, went through step two there, which is that email's been sent through, it goes then through onto package validator. Now, what package validator does is it looks at your package, it breaks your package apart, and it looks at it and it says, we have defined certain rules, certain requirements, certain responsibilities that the package and you as a maintainer have to adhere to for the community repository. Now, if you've got your own repository, we kind of touched on that. You might want to have your own repository. Your rules might not be as stringent as what we have. They might be more stringent. But the point is that we have certain rules that a package must meet in order to be available to the community. And in the blog post, as I said, where that'll be in the description, we look at things like what is your package description? Does it exist? It must exist. Does it have more than 4,000 characters? That's too many. Does it have does it have more than 30 characters? So it must have between 30 characters and 4,000. So you need a description that says something about the package, but you don't want to say too much. So again, those are the kind of rules that we have there for that. There are lots and lots of other rules, and again in the blog post, we actually point to a place in our documentation that lists all of the rules, and you can dig into them. Some of them be fleshed out more than others, but again, I'm package title missing. That's really important. You would want to have a package title. And in some of those PowerShell scripts that we talked about, we just touched on them. Things like private variables not being used. Again, we're not going to dig into that. That's kind of in the documentation. But just it's things like that. So we don't just check the metadata that's in the package, the title, the description. We actually dig in a little bit to the scripts as well and make sure that they adhere to certain rules and requirements that we have as well. Gary, anything that I missed on that?
The only thing to say is, so the package validator is the automation that came from the original human moderation that was done. So when moderation first came about, there were certain rules that were applied, but they were applied by human moderators. So the package validator is the codification of all of those rules and establishing kind of a baseline for a good package going into the community repository. The only thing that, in addition, that we'll touch on in some of the other ones, but at this point it's important as well. If one of the requirements is not met, the package maintainer will receive an email that says this didn't meet the requirement level for a good package, and that package will need to be modified and repushed to the community repository before it will be able to continue on to the next step. So that will be communicated to the package maintainer with this failed, and you'll actually see that in the website. When you log in, it will say that it failed this check. So package validator failed. It's not going to go on to the next one until it gets past that first one.
That's a good point, actually, Gary. We never mentioned that. If your package fails at any of these steps, the package stops, and you need to fix it. You need to, and then once you repush a new version, let's say something we picked up with package validator. Let's say your description is 4,001 characters, so it fails package validation. You'll get an email, as Gary said. It will say, "Hey, it's failed." And you go and fix your package, you reduce the description to less than 4,000 characters. Once you push that package again, you go back to step one. You have to go through all of the steps again. You don't just go, oh, okay, we're skipping package validation because you fixed that. Let's go on to step four. That's not what happens. It goes through all of them. So if you fail at step 5, for example, and you repush your package, you start again at step 1, because we need to make sure every package that's pushed even if it's been fixed or even if you've pushed it already, has to go through each of those steps and pass. That's one of the basically fundamental security checks that we do when packages come into the Chocolatey Community Repository. Gary, do you want to pick up Package Verify?
I can, yep. So the main difference between Package Validator and Package Verifier is that Package Validator didn't really do anything with the package. It looked at the contents of the package and made decisions based on the contents of those files, but it didn't actually do anything with the package. So Package Verifier does do something with the package. So what it does is it actually attempts the installation of the package and the uninstallation of the package, and it will provide a report back to the maintainer of whether it was successful or whether it failed. So what this is really attempting to ensure is that the package actually installs correctly. So based on those instructions that are contained within the package, it goes off and it downloads the right executable or an MSI. It makes sure that the hashes of that files match as expected, and it makes sure that the exit code of that installation attempt was one of the valid exit codes of the package. So with that information in play, we can then make an informed decision that yes, this package installed correctly, therefore it can move on to the next stage. Now, the important thing that trips some people up in terms of package maintainers is that the package verifier runs on a single Windows operating system. So at the time of this, that's a Windows Server 2019. So sometimes the package or the application that's being installed is not intended to be installed on that operating system. So there's rules that we can put in place to allow exemptions from the package verifier because the actual application or the package is not intended to be installed on that operating system. But normally what's happening when it fails package verifier is that there might be some dependency missing and the application can't physically install because of missing dependency. Now we're not going to touch on dependencies and what they are today, but it's 9 times out of 10 that's kind of why a package might fail through package verifier. But that's also part of the appeal of Chocolatey, in that Chocolatey can define all of those dependencies and make sure that all of those dependencies are installed before installing this next package. So in the same way as package validator, if that installation attempt fails, it will be reported back to the maintainer, and you'll need to repush that package or communicate with the moderators via the moderation page and perhaps request an exemption of the package from package verifier. Did I miss anything there?
Oh, no, I think that covered everything. But that's really, I mean, just to kind of give an overview, that's really the installation and uninstallation of the package and make sure everything's okay. So the validator checks that things inside the package meet certain standards. Package verifier ensures that the package uninstalls and uninstalls correctly. And then we move on to package scanner. What package scanner does is it makes a decision. It will either install the package and take the files that the installation creates on your file system and submits them to VirusTotal, or it will use the installers and submit them to VirusTotal. But it also submits your package. So whatever package you push in step one, that package that you've created on your file system, it'll actually submit that as well. And VirusTotal, and again, I'm taking the information from their website, is that they will scan it against over 70 antivirus engines and do other sorts of checks as well. Again, it'll be in the blog post and you can go to virustotal.com and get more information about it. But once that's submitted to there and those files are submitted, Package Scanner will keep checking back to make sure that they've been scanned, because it's obviously it's not instant. So you submit the files, VirusTotal goes away and does its thing, and then it'll check back periodically. It'll say, hey, have you got the antivirus detections, are the results for these particular files? And once VirusTotal returns those, it will actually put them on to the package page. So we looked at it earlier on where Gary was looking at the files, where we're looking at all the versions. Well, in there as well as the virus scan results, and it will show you the results for the files inside that package as well. We've got limits on what those what we allow and what we don't allow. With 70 antivirus engines, for example, there'll be a lot of false positives with some. Some don't have any at all. So we kind of take a stance on what those numbers will be. Now they're documented. I don't want to say the numbers just now, because if you're watching this video back later on, they may change. So in the blog post, that will actually point to the place in the documentation where you can get those numbers, and what they mean at particular levels, etc. But that's really a kind of belt and braces approach for before it even gets to your machine, that we've already had those files scanned by an antivirus scanner. But again, you should always do your due diligence. You should make sure you've got antivirus scanners on your machine, etc. So I'm not going to tell you how to do your computer security, but that this is belt and braces, but you should make sure that you're happy that the files are virus free and malware free before you actually install them. And as I said, if you've got that technology on your machine, then that's going to help with that. So once it passes package scanner, then it goes on to the final stage. Gary, and there's two real paths that it can take there.
Yep.
We've got one, a trusted package, and then we've got the human moderator. Do you want to touch on the human moderation part of it?
Sure. So we've gone through all this automation. We know roughly that the package is doing at the surface level. It's doing what it's meant to do. It's installed correctly, and it's installed with a successful exit code. But if this is a new package submission or a new package version, we can't just trust that the contents of that scripts isn't attempting to do something malicious. So a human moderator comes along, and there's a team of moderators for the Chocolatey Community Repository. But a team of moderators, one of them will come along and put eyes on the actual contents of the file. So they'll be doing additional checks in terms to make sure that for example, if we're downloading the Firefox application installer from Mozilla.org. If for whatever reason the download URL was attempting to download it from alternative Mozilla.org, then the human moderator is kind of responsible then at that point to make sure that there is the original download source for that application installer is the correct one. So it's just when a new package comes along, putting eyes on it from a human point of view picks up on some of the things that's harder to automate. So I've always referred to this part of the process as both the best part of Chocolatey community, the best part of the Chocolatey Community Repository, and also the worst part. It's the best part because you as a consumer of the packages get additional additional verification that the package does what it's meant to do and what it says it does. But because it's a human coming along to do that work, and because it's a community effort, there are ebbs and flows in terms of how long a human moderation of a package can take. So we don't have any SLAs around that in terms of your package will be moderated by a human within a set period of time, because simply put, we can't do that. But yes, a package might take a little bit longer to go through package moderation, but you have then got the benefit that that has been validated by a human, and then you've got a little bit more trust then in terms of installing the package and making use of it on your machine.
And that really, as you said, is one of the best parts about the community repositories. We have volunteer moderators that do this thankless job of looking through packages, of making sure that packages reach that standard for things that we can't automate. Some of the Chocolatey team as well are also moderators and will do the same job, but it is really a thankless job, and sometimes it takes longer than others because life gets in the way for everybody. But this is the community repository, and we expect the community to chip in and help out, and also be a little bit understanding. Everybody does their best. And we try and make sure packages get moderated as quickly as possible. But for those package maintainers who have a track record really of producing high quality packages that consistently pass all of the steps, including human moderation, without any pushback. So, they pass validator every time, they pass verifier every time, they go through virus total every time. Human moderators have nothing to push back on. They think the packages are good and, that they meet that high quality standard. Those packages become trusted. So maintainers that consistently push high quality packages will get their packages trusted as they go forward. Now, there is no real hard and fast rule about how and when that happens. We tend to, you just get experience to know that those maintainers that are putting those packages in are producing high quality packages. So we have some guidelines written down, but we don't have anything hard and fast to say when that happens. So some people have asked, how do I get my package trusted? And the answer is just keep producing high quality packages consistently without any issues, and they will become trusted. But what happens there is after it goes through the step 5 virus total, package scanner, some packages go to the human moderator, but if they're trusted, they skip that human moderation part and go straight to being approved because they've passed all the other steps. And as I said, human moderators have consistently said these packages are good, so we don't feel that we need to go through human moderation. Um, and once it's approved, that package is then available for anybody to install, upgrade from, etc. on the Chocolatey Community Repository. And you'll be able to see that on the package page as well to show that the package has been approved and all the steps have actually passed. Something we didn't really mention was in any of these steps, 3, 4, and 5, sometimes package verify, for example, as Gary said, it's Windows Server 2019 that's currently there. Let's say you've got software that doesn't install on Windows Server 2019. Say it only installs on Windows 10, for example. It's going to fail package verifier, but you can add a comment into the moderation comments, and we'll talk about that in just a second, to say my package doesn't install on Windows Server 19. That's why it's failed. And a human moderator will then come along, go, okay, that's fine, and provide an exemption for that package to not go through package verifier after that they test and validate that. So there is interaction at each of these stages as well. There's comments that go onto the package page that you can see, and there's a back and forth. There can be a back and forth between moderators and the package maintainer as well, because the moderator's job is really to get packages to that approval stage. The moderator's job is not to hold packages up, but the moderator's job is also to make sure that those packages are safe and that they're good quality and high standard packages as well, that belong on the community repository and don't belong somewhere else, such as maybe an internal repository for your organization. So the job is, nailing down the job of a moderator can be difficult, but we have some documentation that does need updated on the kind of steps and the tasks that a moderator does do. So we went through all of that, and I think hopefully that gives everybody a little bit of an overview of how all of this works. We've only got a couple of minutes left, but we're actually coming to the end anyway. But there was 2 questions really that when I was going through this, I thought people may well ask. And the first one is, and I think you've really touched on it, Gary, going through, so I don't think we want to dive into it any more deeply, but do I have to use the Chocolatey Community Repository to host packages?
Simply put, you don't. I mean, out of the box, Chocolatey CLI knows about it and will consume packages from there. But we have within Chocolatey CLI, there is the concept of a source, and you can specify your own source. So if you're maintaining your own repository in the house, or you are using alternative repository that's available to the public, then you specify the source to Chocolatey CLI, and packages will then be consumed and brought down from that alternative repository. So no, you don't have to use Chocolatey Community Repository with Chocolatey CLI. No.
What if I'm an organization and I want to use the Chocolatey Community Repository for packages for my 5,000 computers that I have in the organization?
So the short answer is that we, Chocolatey, don't recommend the usage of the Chocolatey Community Repository by organizations. The intention is that the Chocolatey Community Repository will always be usable by the community. So if the community repository is becoming overwhelmed by requests from an organization who are doing routine updates and updates on their thousands of machines, then that puts the usability of the Chocolatey Community Repository at risk. So at that point, there are rate limits that we do apply to the Chocolatey Community Repository. Now, we're not going to go into the details here, but the blog post does have links off to the information about the rate limits. So normal users, unless you're doing something nefarious or malicious, you're never going to see those rate limits apply to you. But as an organization who's attempting to do lots of downloads for all of their machines at the same time, then those rate limits might kick in for you at that point. So there's information on the blog post, but the takeaway from that is that no, we don't recommend that organizations use the Chocolate Community Repository directly. No.
I think something I always say is the Chocolatey Community Repository is for the many and not the few. So we don't want it to be abused in that way. So we want to make sure it stays up for the community to use. The other question that I'd thought of while I was doing this was, can I use the Chocolatey Community Repository for my packages? And when I say my packages, I'm thinking, packages that only really make sense to me. Maybe a package that sets up just my computer and it's got specific software in there that only really I would use. That's not really what the Chocolatey Community Repository is for. The Chocolatey Community Repository is for the Chocolatey community. So if you have a package that would be broadly used by many people, then the Chocolatey Community Repository is absolutely the ideal place for it. But it's not a place where you would just put packages just for you, or maybe your group or your club, or a small group of people. You would be much better hosting your own repository for that, or keeping them on a file system and doing it that way. It's also one of the other things that's come up recently, actually, is some people have been using it to test their packages. They would upload their packages to the Chocolatey Community Repository and have it go through our package moderation services, but not actually have any intention of providing those packages to the community. That's not really what the community repository is for. Something we need to bear in mind is that Chocolatey Software pays for the Chocolatey Community Repository, so we're all accessing this for free, and we're really happy to do that, provide that service to the community, but we do ask it's not abused. And if you want to test your package, then you should really test it in your own environment and in the way that you need to test it, rather than just being using our sort of facilities to do that with no intention of sharing that to the broader community. So that was the kind of two questions I'd really thought of. But if you've got more questions, what we should really do is point you to our community hub. And I'm going to bring that up on screen. Just give me 1 second, because it's always the way you can't find it when you're looking for it. So we've got our community hub and chat, which is on Discord. And there it's there. So I've got that on screen just now. So if you've got more questions, please ask them. There's a team of the Chocolatey team are frequently in there, and there's a lot of community members that are in there as well that will answer those questions for you. And you might have questions that we haven't thought of today, or maybe you just want a little bit more information about any of the package moderation services, or the kind of other types of things like what can I use the community repository for, that kind of thing. We're always there to kind of answer those questions. So hopefully that answers that question. Where do I get answers for my other questions? So that's us kind of come to the end today. We're just a couple of minutes over time, but I think this has been really useful, and it's something I've wanted to do for quite a while. And I know, Gary, we've talked about a lot about sort of talking about the basics of the community repository and Chocolatey solutions, and really just trying to explain things for people coming in to the community, because we often talk about things like everybody knows what we're talking about and what we do. Because we've been embedded in it for so long, but not everybody does. So I think this kind of thing is useful for people. But please let us know if it's useful for you. We do have a survey, as I mentioned that at the beginning. It's a quick survey. You can tell us what you think of this live stream. It should take you 10-15 seconds to fill out. I think there's like 3 questions. One of them is mandatory, the other 2 are not. So you can really let us know what you thought of this live stream, what you'd like to see, etc. We've also got for this month, or for a month, so there's a couple of weeks left. You can win chocolatey goodies by giving us feedback on a different survey. And that's a much longer survey, and I'll put that on the screen just now as well. So you can go to that and you can give us more information about longer term content. What would you like to see? What about the content that we do provide in our documentation and live streams, etc. as well? So that would be really useful. And as I said, you can win chocolatey goodies by having a look at that. Gary, is there anything we didn't touch on that you wished we had done today?
I mean, there's obviously lots more that we can dig into, but in terms of the high level view of what the Chocolatey Community Repository is and the moderation services that go with it, I think we covered everything that makes sense for just now. Yeah.
And we will be doing more of these live streams this year. We're picking up quite a few of the back to basics. I'm going to talking about different chocolatey solutions. We've talked about the community repository here, and as I mentioned a couple of times already, on the 7th of March, Josh King and Stephen Valdinger will be going through how to create a package in an easy step-by-step way. So if you've ever wondered how that all works, maybe get a refresher on how you do that, then please join that live stream. We've also got our unpacking software live stream coming up in, what date is that? That is the 14th of March, which is the third Thursday. No, it's the 21st of March. I tell a lie. 21st of March. It's the third Thursday of the month. We'll be doing our unpacking software live stream. But also, we will be using that or putting that on as a podcast as well. We have our first episode already published for that. So please go to whatever your podcast manager of choice is, and you'll probably find Unpacking Software from Chocolatey Software on there. And there's episode 1 of that where myself and Stephen Valdinger and Gary went through the sort of news and chat and opinion for the month of February. So we've kind of covered everything today. Let's kind of wrap up, I think. So Gary, thank you for taking us through the demos and for being my ever-suffering co-host. I appreciate that. I also appreciate you not saying Nupkeg. That was good. It was NUPKG. If nobody knows what that is, we have a long history of that. You did lose that vote, so you're not allowed to use it anymore. But as I mentioned at the start, we have that survey. I've mentioned it kind of going through. I'll put it on the stream the screen again. Please give us some feedback on what you thought of this live stream. And we really do appreciate that. We want to make sure that the content that we're streaming is basically what you want to see and capture anything you'd like to see for the future. The link there is on the screen, and I'll leave that up while I'm talking about other things. You can also be notified of all of our chocolatey content by joining our community hub on Discord and subscribing to us on YouTube, or you can find us on Twitter or X, Mastodon, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky. We're on all the things. You can find those links at the bottom of our website, chocolatey.org, or in the description below. Our next live stream is our brand new, it's our second episode of Unpacking Software, as I mentioned, on the 21st of March at 5 p.m. UTC. Please join us for news, chat, and opinion on all things software management. And we hope to see you there. Thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you later.